Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the English Ear Training Podcast. I'm glad you're here with me again today. It always feels good to sit down, breathe a little, and listen to some slow, gentle English together. Maybe you're listening on your morning walk, or maybe you're relaxing at home. Or maybe you're sitting somewhere far away from your home country. Wherever you are, I'm happy you're spending this time with me. I'm Eva, and today we're talking about something many people dream about, something many people fear, and something many people eventually experience. We're talking about moving abroad. That simple phrase can mean so many things. It can lead you into a life you've never lived before, a language you've never spoken, a culture you've never experienced, and a version of yourself you haven't met yet. But before we dive into all of that, let's take a moment to settle in, to breathe, to let your ears relax so they can follow every word slowly, softly, clearly. Now, let's get started. Moving abroad simply means leaving your home country and starting a life in another one. People do it for many reasons, for school, for work, for family, or sometimes just to experience something new. And this decision can feel exciting and scary at the same time. Even before you pack your bags, your mind begins to imagine what your days might look like in a completely different place. Many people move abroad to study. Sometimes it's just for one semester, and sometimes it's for an entire program. A full degree, a full chapter of life. Universities around the world have partnerships, connections, and special agreements that allow students to spend a few months or even a whole year in another country. When two universities are affiliated, it simply means they have a formal relationship. They work together. They accept each other's students, and this makes studying abroad much easier. For many young people, this is their first big experience living away from home, living away from everything familiar, and it can be both amazing and overwhelming. Others choose to move abroad for work. Sometimes a company transfers you to a branch in another city, another region, or another country. A branch is just another location of the same company, so you might work for the same brand, the same organization, but in a completely different culture. And that change can be exciting. New coworkers, new systems, new challenges, a new environment that pushes you to grow in unexpected ways. Some people choose to move for a master's program, or a special training course, or an exchange program like Erasmus for students in Europe. These programs give people the chance to live somewhere new for months or even a year, and that experience stays with you forever. But of course, not all reasons are academic or professional. Some people move abroad because life simply opens a door, a chance, an opportunity, a moment that surprises you and changes everything. Whatever the reason, the idea of living in another country always carries a special weight, a mix of hope and fear and curiosity. But before the adventure begins, Before the new food and new friends and new sights, there is one part that almost everyone dislikes: the legal process. All the passports, the visas, the documents, the appointments, the endless websites and emails, and all the waiting in between. This part can feel like a long, slow puzzle. A puzzle you didn't ask for. A puzzle with instructions that never seem completely clear. Getting a visa can be easy or incredibly difficult depending on where you're from and where you're going. Some countries give you a tourist visa as soon as you arrive. Right at the airport, they stamp your passport, and suddenly you're allowed to stay for a certain number of days. This is what we call a visa upon arrival. But for many people, especially when going to countries with stricter immigration systems, the process is much more rigorous. Rigorous means detailed, careful, and strict. You need interviews, documents, proof of many things you never imagined you would need to prove, and all of this can become a headache. Not a real physical headache, but a stressful, difficult situation that makes you feel tired even before stepping on the plane. And if you're trying to get residency, the process can become even more complex, more forms, more waiting, more steps that feel like tiny obstacles on the path to your new life. But eventually you figure it out. You learn the vocabulary, you learn the system, you learn patience, and finally, you arrive. Then comes another challenge: the language. Some people move to a country where everyone speaks the same language, but many people move to places where the language is completely different from what they grew up with. At first, it can feel like you're underwater. You hear voices, but everything sounds blurry, soft, far away. Even if you studied the language before moving, real-life conversation is completely different. People speak fast. They use slang. They interrupt each other. They change topics quickly. And your brain, your poor, tired brain, tries its best to keep up. But here's the beautiful part: immersion. To immerse yourself means to surround yourself completely with something. When you immerse yourself in a language, you hear it everywhere. In the grocery store, on the bus, on the radio, in the park, you start understanding small pieces, then longer pieces, then full conversations. Slowly, the blurry sounds become clear shapes, clear words, clear meaning. One day, you realize you don't need to translate anymore. The language enters your mind naturally, the same way water fills a glass. That moment feels magical. But language is only one part of the experience. The next challenge is something most people don't expect: making friends. Being an international person in a new place can sometimes feel lonely, especially at the beginning. The locals, the people who were born and raised there, already have their friends, their habits, their humor, their routines. Joining those circles can be difficult, not impossible, but slow. That's why many people join activity groups, a hiking group, a book group, a cooking group, a photography group. When people meet up, they get together to spend time and share something they enjoy. Through these meetups, you meet people who like the same things you like. Sometimes you connect with locals. sometimes with other internationals who are living the same story as you. Little by little, you build your own community, your own circle, your own small world inside the big, unfamiliar world around you. And of course, there is something deeper that almost everyone experiences when they move abroad: culture shock. Culture shock is that feeling when you arrive in a new country and realize that many things you thought were normal are actually just normal in your country. The food is different, the humor is different, the greetings are different, the rules are different, the small everyday habits are different. Sometimes the differences are big, sometimes they're small. But even small ones can feel strange when they happen every day. Maybe people drive differently from what you're used to. Maybe stores close earlier. Maybe the weather changes fast. Maybe people communicate in more direct or more indirect ways than you expect. All of these small surprises can make you feel like an outsider. Not in a negative way, just in the sense that you're not part of the rhythm yet. You're still learning the dance. And that learning process takes time, months, sometimes years. But slowly you start adapting. Not by changing who you are, but by adding new layers to your understanding of the world. You learn to say things the way people say them there. You learn why certain habits exist. You learn what people value and what people avoid. Day by day, you become part of the rhythm. But here's something interesting, something many people don't talk about. When you move abroad, the biggest challenges are often not the big cultural differences. They're the tiny things you never predicted, the rules for taking out the trash, the way public transportation works, the fact that your favorite food from your home country is impossible to find. Maybe electricity goes out more often than you expected. Maybe shops don't carry a product you always used. Maybe something tiny, like the sound of sirens or the way people line up or the way weekends work, feels a little strange at first. These little things are the ones that take time to understand, not because they're difficult, but because you didn't know they were different until you saw them with your own eyes. But over time, you adapt to those too. And one day, those strange little things become normal, familiar, comfortable. And that's when you realize you're really living abroad, not visiting, not surviving, living. And through all the challenges, all the small frustrations, all the new experiences, something else grows quietly in the background. Confidence. You learn to solve problems in a new language. You learn to navigate a new system, a new city, a new culture. You learn to trust yourself in situations that used to feel scary. And that feeling, that quiet confidence, is one of the most rewarding parts of moving abroad. Rewarding, meaning deeply satisfying, meaningful, worth the effort. Living abroad changes you in ways you don't notice at first. It makes you more flexible, more open, more understanding of the world and of yourself. It teaches you that you can adapt, even when things feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable, and it teaches you how big the world really is, and how many different ways there are to live a life. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're dreaming of moving abroad, or planning it, or already living far from home, I hope today's episode helped you feel understood. I hope it gave you a little comfort, a little clarity, and, of course, good listening practice in slow, natural English. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for letting me be part of your day. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more learners discover this space and continue improving their English with us. Take care of yourself and keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing in your own rhythm. I'll see you again in the next episode of English Ear Training Podcast.